Hello and welcome to the first episode of what I'm going to call tutorials. It's basically getting a bunch of people from Stugan to tell us how to do things in game development. And today you guys are going to tell me about the marketing hustle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
It is
Glad to
really
be here,
exciting.
Kate. Thanks for bringing us.
Thanks for bringing us here.
Great to be here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm welcome. We're welcome.
We're fantastic.
You're such a good host. Has anyone ever told you that?
Yeah?
Great host.
Yeah?
Feel so at home.
So this podcast is about me.
Wow, tell us about you.
I'm just going to sit here and
Tell us about you.
and praise me for a while. No, what we're going to do is talk about what it's like to market a game. Your first game, which is called Semblance, which
Yes.
the spotlight's already gone up. People are going to think you're the only people at Stugan.
We are the only people.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
That's all that matters, really.
just you. You're
Yeah.
all that matters. So, yeah, you're
Well, at
making your
least our
first game.
game.
Yeah.
A game.
It does.
Our game is probably the
So you were telling me earlier that since November you've got about 2,000 followers on Twitter, more
Yeah.
than you did have,
Yeah.
which is pretty good.
It's okay.
Pretty good.
It's okay. It's not
not
like
bad,
Kate.
right?
Kate followers, you know.
Yeah.
How long did it
Not
take you to
yet.
get that many followers?
Well, I'm not making a video game, so I'm not doing any work.
Wow,
I'm
avoiding
just
the
like
question. Avoiding the
Twitter all
question.
day.
Yeah.
3? I don't know.
3 years.
We're not talking about me.
Okay,
we're talking about you guys.
Okay, about us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about social media first. Yeah.
How did we get to 2,000 followers?
A good question.
Well, we tweeted a lot. That's the
Yeah.
first step. But there's a lot of craft to good tweets that maybe some people don't know about. Because we're in South Africa and also, you know, that specific time zone, most of the people you're trying to reach as wide an audience as possible. So you don't really want to...
whole world.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
whole world.
You don't want to really tweet at, like, you know, any time from 10 a.m. to, like, 4 p.m. because a lot of America will be asleep at that time.
Yeah.
What many indie game dev theorists, such as
Yourself.
mostly Ublitz and Zach Bell, actually, they've theorized that about 5 p.m. our time in South Africa is the best time to tweet because that's when I think it's 11 a.m. sometime in America where both the eastern seaboard and the western seaboard are kind of awake, and also most of Europe is still awake. So that's the time, those few hours from 5 p.m. onwards, that you're going to reach the most amount of people.
Yeah.
So starting off, just the timing of your tweets is super important.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are really averse to
Hashtags.
hashtags. People are really averse to hashtags. That's because they kind of look gross and it looks like you're trying to sell something, right?
But you are.
But you are. That's what you're trying to do.
Something.
You're trying to sell a video game, right? So, like, don't be averse to that. I think also people don't really realize how hashtags work for some reason. Like, every time someone retweets your game or your tweet and it has a hashtag, it's going to go to the top of that hashtag.
Right at the top.
Which means it's just going to keep, you know, feeding itself.
Yeah.
So if you use like hashtag game dev, hashtag indie dev, or something like that, every
Hashtag
time,
awesome.
yeah, exactly. Not that
Hashtag
one. though.
awesome.
That's
I
not a good
did that
one.
once and then
Yeah.
Ben banned me from
Yeah.
tweeting, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you also get followers from those
Exactly.
hashtags like bots, which obviously aren't great.
No, I mean, so the first 10 retweets are just bots, and it's just bots retweeting each other. And then everyone's like, wow, this tweet has 10 retweets already. And they're like, wow, I better retweet this. So that helps as well.
Yeah.
So the bots are pretty gross, and you get used to it. But when, like, someone significant retweets it, then obviously it goes to all their followers. And some, you know, like major game developers still look in the game dev hashtag or indie dev hashtag. So, and then smaller to medium-sized game developers also just like spend a lot of time. If you're trying to break into games, a lot of time you'll look in those hashtags.
Yep.
And so that's where you get like, you know, a lot of people retweeting or favoriting or seeing about your games. So I think it's important to use hashtags because it helps any interaction that happens with your tweets go further. And that's really what you want to see. You want to see as many people as possible to see your game, even though it feels a bit gross. Like, when you release the game and you have, you know, 3,000 followers, no one's going to be like, oh, you did that all with hashtags. Like, as long as you're not... like, no one
now
will
we
know.
know. Now you've just told the internet.
Well, only
know.
like 1,000 people watch this video.
Wow. I hope
Maybe
so.
2,000.
It's a very long
That's a-
video.
But we have to hashtag it.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to hashtag these tweets.
All right.
You can't hashtag YouTube.
But I think...
Wait, can you?
You can do tags.
You can do
We'll
tags.
do tags.
But yeah, so other things in social media that's important, that helps a lot, is varying your content as well, not just tweeting about the game all the time, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind
So
of stuff do you tweet about?
bugs are really popular. That's
Those are
what a lot of
funny.
people have discovered, is bugs are very
Well, that's
popular.
because our game is super
It's very buggy.
prone to
It's very
interesting.
buggy. Our programmer is not very good. Sorry, is this on camera? He's very good. Sugar's the
That's
programmer.
Oh my
hurtful.
god.
That's
He'll be fine.
That's hurtful.
Our program is very good. It's just a very hard
At
game.
least I give you enough content to tweet, right?
It's true. Sugar's thinking about the marketing, yeah.
It's
all the
always,
time.
it's always about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's always about the marketing. Yeah, no, bugs are very popular. A lot of people are tweeting bugs.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the most.
That's how our mechanics started.
Most
Yeah,
of
it's
gifts
true.
I see on
Yeah.
Twitter are like things going wrong.
Exactly.
We're going to be doing a video on gifts later.
How to make things go
So
wrong.
We're not going to spoil that one too much.
So, okay.
When you're not on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
you're usually, and when you're not making the game, you're usually going to different like exhibitions
Yeah.
and conventions. So how does that factor into the marketing hustle?
I think in terms of the marketing hustle, I think there's, you're always promoting the game as well, always promoting the game. And I think going to these places is always about having a conversation, and you might talk about the game with someone, right? And I think a lot of things these days, because like everything is oversaturated, Facebook is always telling you to buy ads, Twitter's always asking you to buy ads as well. So I think a lot of things now are just word of mouth. I think most people respond better to their friend telling them about a game than an ad. So we feel like if you go to different events, one, you always get inspired by these events, but you always get to talk about people's games, their games, and then you get to talk about your own game. And that way, like, it becomes this thing where, oh no, I talked to this guy, they were from Africa, they were really cool, they were making this. So, and then it just kind of ripples. And then you meet them again at another event, and they've told like 5 people, you've told 5 people about their game. And it's almost like cross promotion, but you're not really promoting the game, you're just talking about it with different people.
Yeah.
And I think going to events is super important for us as well, because in South Africa, we're not really selling to people inside Africa. The percentage of money you make as a game developer in South Africa from people in Africa or South Africa is minute. It's really, really small. Not a lot of people inside Africa or South Africa play a lot of locally produced content. So it's really important for us to go to Western events just to meet players, but also meet, press and, streamers and YouTubers that are going to play the game and, in turn write about it to their audience, because that's the audience that's really going to be playing your game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think realistically, in terms of going to big consumer shows, if you just think about it really practically, there's only so many players that can actually play your game.
Yeah.
If you have a 20-minute long demo and you only have one screen, there might be 200,000 people going to that event, but if you do the numbers, you can get maybe 100 to 200 people playing your game, just for how long the show's open. So really prioritizing players at those events is not necessarily the best thing to do, because there's only so many people you can reach.
Yeah.
And only a percentage of those people who play the game might actually buy the game. So it's really important to go to those events for meeting press, making press contacts, and hopefully they write about the game as well.
Yeah.
Part of that is doing press work beforehand, but honestly, breaking through the fugue of emails press gets impossible. I've literally sent someone an email and walked up to them in person and said, "Have you seen my email?" And they said no, and then I pitched them the game, and then
they're excited.
Yeah, and they write about the game. That's literally how it is. I just assume press people have 1 million emails a day. That's the assumption I have to have.
I mean, there are 1 million games out there these days.
So I think booking press before shows seems to be impossibly difficult. And we risk it quite badly by, I don't think this is something I wouldn't advise you doing, but going to shows without press booked is kind of a terrible idea.
Especially when you're flying from the other side
Exactly,
of the world.
when it's super expensive to go there. But that's what we've done.
No, but I think if you look at it like making games already a super risky business. I mean, like if maybe that flight for us could be 2 weeks worth of development, you're like, okay, well, you're gonna risk it for a slightly more one bug fix.
Yeah.
Or like the chance at like meeting 1 or 2 press people and or meeting and things like you're also meeting press, but you're also meeting your players as well. So it could be press and it could be, you don't know what type of press you might find. And I think even going in like that is like you have high pressure on yourself to make it worth it. And I think that's where you have to jump out of your maybe shell or anything to go talk to someone like, hey, what's up?
Exactly.
Here's a coffee. You look a bit tired. How about you come and play the game?
Exactly. You can't just treat it like it's over once you get to the show. When the show starts, that's when like you got to try get people to come play your game. Like at every event you go to, press have a different colored badge that's hanging around their neck like a blaring beacon, and you just got to look for that color and just go talk to them. And when we went to E3, that's pretty much what we did. We ended up on IGN, GameSpot, and Game Informer, all without any real press, just because we took the time and the effort to like leave the station and go find people to come play the game.
But a lot of that was also due to great things like the Indie Mega Booth and Evolve a lot. So that's how we got to E3 in the first place. And even the event we got into, like PAX East, was through great things like the Indie Mega Booth. They're doing phenomenal work. And again, it's also that thing of you have to apply. You know, it's whether you get in or you don't get in. And I always like tell Ben, I'm like, it's like, how are we gonna get them? Like, that's tomorrow's problem. So the thing is that if you submit and then you get in, you have more like drive to make it happen. But if you sit there 3 months before and you're like, we don't know how we're gonna get there, you can always say no because there'll be always someone on the waiting list, right? But 3 months between now and when they say you can go or not, you could have made a plan. And then I feel like convincing yourselves to come up with a plan when you know you're going becomes easier when you have the yes.
So I want to ask you a question about something that I've talked to indies about marketing before, and it always comes up, which is basically that people are as interested in the personalities of the person making the game as they are in the game. Sometimes even more so, especially if you're particularly weird or interesting. And you guys have got a lot of press because you're from South Africa, and that's quite novel to the press, and you've been working that angle as well as showing your game. So do you think that's something that indies need to find, the thing that makes them interesting?
Totally. On multiple aspects, I think. Like, you need to really understand what press are writing about, what makes someone want to write about your game. Like, so there's two aspects. Like, why will someone write about your game in general, and why will they write about you as a company? And that starts right at the beginning when you're making your game. Like, is this something that's new and interesting and people will want to write about or talk about? That's hard for a lot of independent game developers who are, making games for passion or for art. But if you want to make games for a living, you really have to think about games that will, have a market, right? And that also ties into what press want to write about. Like, will press write about another, a game developer that's making a game that they were inspired by, other games in their childhood? It's like, the story's been told before. So you really have to find the angle on what makes your game and your story interesting. And for us, that's where Semblance came from. It's a game that, in of itself is interesting to write about. As a meta game about platforming in general has an interesting angle. And then on top of that, we have an interesting story as developers coming from South Africa, just like dealing with being in Africa and making games and like having to fly 16 hours to get to places. Visas.
So I think having a story is like a lot of popular like marketing advice just across the board, not necessarily indie games. Always say like, people like a story, and I don't think it's about fabricating a story. I think that's terrible. You should not do that. Don't lie. But I think everyone in themselves has a story of why they came to this game, or how they stumbled upon this game, or why from where they were able to make this game. And I think everyone's story themselves is interesting. I mean, that's one of the factors why we love traveling, is that yes, we get to talk to a lot of cool people, but the reason they're cool is because they have a story. And they need to share the story they're sharing with me, with the press. And then you got something that's interesting. I think that's a way to put it.
This half, we're going to talk about a gross word.
A
bad word. But a good word also. We're going to talk
mostly
about
gross, though.
Influences.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Blah.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
But they are useful.
They're very useful. I think it's also how you frame it. Like, that's the word to define what you're talking about, but it doesn't have to be gross at all. Like, me and Sugar travel a lot and like meeting people who are making games. But in a way, some of the people we meet are what marketing people would describe as influencers. They have like, tens of thousands of followers on Twitter, and if they retweet your game or your trailer, like, that can reach a lot of people, right? So I mean, you just have to be practical about it. Like, you're not going to schmooze them and say, oh, I'm your biggest fan. Like, you try and just like talk to them as a
Man,
normal
you're
human
my
being.
biggest fan.
I know. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, that does work. I feel great. That
You're gonna
worked.
retweet his game?
Yeah, do you have something I can retweet? Like, you just have to be practical about it. Like, we have friends that we're like really fond of and want to help make great games, but they also just happen to be people that are really great game developers, really great game designers, and have a large following. Like, those things don't have to be gross. Like, you just, targeting them because they're
I've just got very
great.
important friends, you
Yeah.
know?
You wouldn't, guys wouldn't understand.
Just got
Yeah.
lots of friends.
That's great. So like an influencer is like they're influencing their followers.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
If they say something, it makes people want to check that
Check
thing
it out, yeah.
Exactly. And it's not like we're tagging them. You're like, hey, retweet my game.
Yeah, I've seen some game
Like,
developers do that.
yeah.
Like, you'll go to their feed and it'll just be them talking to all your friends, and you'll be like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's another level. That's like hashtags level 2. I don't know if I can get to that level.
I think
It
for
doesn't
me-
look good.
I think for me, it comes back to all the stuff we've been saying from the beginning. Is that you hashtag, you go to events, you're having a lot of fun on Twitter. I mean, not a lot of that just like organically eventually happens because they're doing the exact same thing, right? The reason you know about them is because they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So when you eventually meet them, it's like, oh, hey, man, I saw your stuff. It's really cool. I'm like, yeah, I've been seeing your stuff. Not for too long, though, And then it's just like, it organically happens. It's like, there was once I was at a game jam recently, and then I saw a stick on someone's laptop. And I was like, whoa, I didn't give you that sticker. So it's like, it kind of just like all feeds in itself. And I think at some point, even yourself are an influencer.
Yeah.
I think you should think of yourself as an influencer because you have a certain number of people that are following you. And even the people who are following this influencer, there's also a crossover. So it's always a little give and take. And you're always having fun.
And it just comes out to the hustle. It's the same thing as when you're like trying to meet press. Like when you're going to lots of shows and there's lots of industry people there, like you're there to, like, you're not in a small city in South Africa. You're there to like meet people. That's why you paid all that money to be there. So you might as well try and meet people. And if it happens organically, they follow you on Twitter and maybe you retweet some of your stuff. That's cool. But I mean, just thinking about it in both aspects, both as a game developer, learning from other game developers, but also as someone who's trying to market something, it's valuable to meet those people and for them to see your stuff. It's like retweeting your own things in the morning. You gotta hustle. Otherwise you're gonna languish in obscurity.
Yeah.
Retweeting your own tweets.
Oh yeah.
Just don't be too proud about stuff. It's how to be.
Exactly.
I think it's always just being humble. I think everything is humble because we're here or we're getting to talk to you because you put in a little bit of work and you're blessed.
Yeah.
We're happy to be where we are, and if one day I'm considered an influencer,
There's gonna be a lot of backward caps out there very soon in the games industry. Just
Yeah.
so let's turn the tables a bit.
No, but wait, I want to talk about that
Yeah?
retweeting your retweet.
Okay.
I think of it as like a selfie.
Oh yeah?
It is
Yeah,
like a
it's
selfie,
I
right?
did something good.
It's like a
Hey,
selfie of your
guys,
You
selfie.
deserve
What's
to
up?
this.
But it's like a selfie of you taking a selfie. It's like if you took two hands. That's what a retweet is. A retweet
Yeah.
of your retweet.
No, but it's cool.
I'm fine with it.
Thanks, Twitter, for
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
That thing.
So you as a journalist, Kate, what
Hi.
sort of emails do you like getting? Because this
Okay.
is a tough problem. I don't think. Yeah.
My main tip
Yeah.
for emails, if you're a game dev and you're sending out emails to press, and I don't know if this goes for all press, but I get a lot of emails, so I think it's applicable, is short subject lines.
Oh, yeah?
Makes such a difference. Like, the people I care about who email me, like my dad and people I'm working for, are so busy that they can only send like 2-word subject lines that just like, dinner today, and so I know those are the important emails.
The whole emails in this is
Yeah.
so short. It's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
what's
you
the
know
deets?
what people are talking about,
Yeah.
but like everyone in PR and indie dev and all the emails I get are like an essay in the subject line. And when I'm checking emails on my phone, I only see 2 words. So like, get to the point.
Good
Just
game.
Be like,
Good game. That's gonna be my
amazing
subject line.
Indie game, and I'm like, ooh.
Oh.
Like, it tricks me into thinking it's an important email. No offense. You know what I mean, though, right?
It is
I'm like,
very true.
oh, this person must know who I am because they're using a really short subject line. I
I'm
should've-
glad.
How about just your name in the title? Like, hi, Kate.
Okay. I mean, if you can figure out
And
how
an
to
emoji.
make like email things do. I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Emoji are good.
Oh yeah? What sort of emoji?
But
What's
that's
your
because I'm a
emoji favorite?
millennial, so.
You're a millennial.
I'm a millennial, don't tell anyone.
Just put the avocado emoji in there. And a house.
I think it has to be relevant to like either the game or how excited you are. So like a star or some sparkles or some hearts if you want to be cute.
So, personalized emojis for your game are the new stickers for indie games. That's what you're trying to say. Like an emoji
Yeah.
of your little character.
I don't know if it works for everyone because I can imagine like you're like a bit older and you're at like a more serious website and you're like, oh, emojis, those are for children, and you
Yeah.
throw your computer out the window. Probably.
And then a child picks it up and puts an emoji on it.
Yeah, because they're children.
Serious
yes.
games website. I was trying to think of one.
I was thinking like maybe more mainstream.
Like
if
The
you-
Atlantic.
If you... They're not going to write about your
Ian
game
Boggess
anyway.
doesn't like
but yeah,
emojis.
if you send them an emoji email, they might be like, goodness
You don't
me.
think the Atlantic's going to write about...
I don't think so. I mean, you can
heartbroken.
try. You could be the first.
They could
There's just
be
been a game that's
mechanics.
qualified for an
Yeah,
Oscar,
mechanics
so-
in games are dead. That's going to be the Atlantic think piece.
Mechanics are dead. Yeah. Yeah.
Experiences of the future.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, he's not a big fan of narrative or
No.
experience. Anyway, marketing.
We're just subtweeting now. Stop it. Enough.
Ian
of that.
Boggess, if you're watching this video, I'm sorry.
I didn't authorize this. Okay, another marketing tip.
Yes.
Be nice to everyone,
It's true.
but not like fake nice. Just be a nice person.
How do you know if
It's more
someone's
fun.
doing fake nice?
Okay, so you're at an event
Yeah.
and you're hanging out with your group of friends, and someone comes up to you, like an indie dev will come up to you and be like, "Hey!" And you'll be like, "Hi, I'm with my friends," and they'll be like, "We're friends." It's like the conversation doesn't go like that, but it feels like that. Like sometimes I'm not working. Sometimes I'm like at a meal or in a club, and that is not the time to approach press.
Definitely.
In a club?
Yeah,
Is
like
it-
at GDC. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are some hot tips right here.
Don't
Don't approach journalists in the club.
in the there's a fly in front of the camera and it looks really big.
It's gone. It's
Anyway, hopefully
That is a metaphor
I think,
for no, not journalism, for
I think-
marketing.
let me like let's imagine I was an influencer,
Yeah.
because I'm not, right? Fake nice is like the other day at an event as usual. Someone comes up to me, it's like, "Hey, what's up, my man? Seen your game. Here's my business cards."
Yeah.
Talks for like 5 minutes. Like, I think that's good for now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep networking. No jokes.
Someone who gives you a business card or a sticker within the first like minute
Yeah.
without you asking is
Like,
generally only interested in you
Oh.
for your sweet retweets.
Yeah.
And it
You
breaks
gotta get
my
meta
heart.
about the fake niceness.
Like I know that everyone's just trying to like butter journalists
Yeah.
up. I get
true.
that.
It's true.
I get it's a game though. You've got to be subtle about
Yeah,
it. You've
it's
got to make
true.
the journalists feel
It's true.
like maybe they're
Yeah.
special because they're not.
I mean, we're designing experiences. We're game developers.
Yeah.
We got to think of that the same way when we're talking to journalists. You got to have the
That's
3-act
my game.
structure. You know, you can't just start with the climax. You got to have opening act. You got to set the scene.
I mean, I think most big journalists are kind of clued into the fact that like they'll go to a game event and it won't be like let's hang out with friends.
Yeah.
It'll be like everyone's coming to them being like, "Hey, you!
What are the chances?
Haven't seen you in a while. I've
Yeah.
got a new game. I don't know if you heard."
So maybe you got to play hard to get / the long
Yeah.
game. Yeah, that's where you got to be like, oh, you can play this game if you like. I don't know.
Oh,
whatever.
it's bad. You know.
Whatever. You want to try this
Yeah.
thing. And then journalists are like, wow, I've never felt this way before. What does this mean? That's a good theory. I'm going to try that next time.
I get quite cynical about
Yeah.
how to talk to journalists because, like, based on my own experience, like, the more someone makes me feel special, the more I'm, like, inclined to give their game a go. And that sounds, like, so dumb. If someone's like, "I bought you some cake," I'm just like, "Oh, it's not like that." I don't mean like that.
Yeah,
But, like,
cake.
it's little things.
Yeah.
Like using someone's name in like a press email and it not feeling like a massive spreadsheet,
Oh.
you
and
know?
don't spell it wrong. Also, don't spell
Don't
it
do
wrong.
that because everyone calls me Katie sometimes and I'm just like, that's not my name. Where did you get that from?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, or they'll like, if you've changed your name in your Twitter handle, like at the moment mine says Stugan, so if someone's like, "Hello, Kate Gray Stugan," I'm just like, that's not me.
That's amazing.
People
With
do that.
emojis. So here's a question for you. As a journalist, how often do you come across games on social media that you're interested in writing about or seeing, and in future make you want to write about them?
I mean, the main way I come across games on Twitter is GIFs.
Yeah.
So if a game looks... That's a loud motorbike. Shh. So if I see a GIF and a game looks like my kind of game, like Ooblets, for example, they're really good at GIFs. I kind of want them to tell us some
They're
GIF
too
stuff,
good at
but
GIFs.
they're not coming here. So that's fine.
They have a Patreon post though. That's what we based our
do.
whole strategy on.
So their GIFs are like about them as a team, and they're about their game, but in a kind of, I hate the word, but wacky sort of way. And that makes me like the game more because I feel like I can connect with who they are as well as what the game is.
Alright.
So that's what draws me to things like that. Also, there's other people in the press who are big into sharing indie games, like Chris Priestman, for example, who's always just going like, look at all these games.
Yeah.
So that's useful, but obviously that's him doing that, and he just seems to find them. I don't know where he
journalist
gets
for
them
journalists.
from. Yeah, basically. He's great. Should do
great.
like a email for all of
Yeah,
us.
you should run like some sort of experimental games website.
He should. That's such a
or
good
roundup,
idea.
or some sort of walk door to experimental games.
Genius.
Wow.
If anybody doesn't already follow Chris Priestman, he runs a website
Do
called
it.
Warp Door.
Yeah,
You should. He's very good.
it's very good. We
hope he
both had
watches
games on there,
this.
so this is basically marketing for ourselves.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh, we should have mentioned that at the beginning. This is a sponsorship video for Warp Door.
It's not.
Ben,
Sorry.
You'll get us in trouble.
Yeah.
No.
Thomas.
So I know you're going to talk about GIFs later, but I think it's important to touch on
Yeah.
the type of content you share on Twitter. We sort of touched on it earlier, but
Yeah.
the variety is important, as you mentioned with Ooblets. But also think you have to have empathy towards the people who are looking at your stuff on Twitter. Like if you're making something that's out of context in your game and you understand what's happening, someone else might not understand what's going on. So like when we make GIFs, we try and make them very short, and also we show the problem you're trying to solve. So we intentionally die or show the problem so that the player can understand, oh, this is what they're trying to solve. And then that adds a layer of appreciation to when you actually show the solution, like, oh my god, that's so interesting about how it works in that game. So that's important as well, kids.
Well, what about the fact that since we're making a puzzle game, do you think we're exposing too much of our game?
Yeah, that's
Is
an
that-
interesting point, yeah.
Nah.
So a lot of people, exactly, I mean, a lot of people have told us, aren't you worried you're sharing too much of your game? And there's a famous indie game developer whose name I always forget, but they spoke about how indie game developers have an infinite market. Like you can never reach 100% of the market of indie game players. So I think if you think about it from that perspective, the same with sharing your game. You can never reach 100% saturation, and not every single person who's going to buy your game have seen all the content you've shared on Twitter. So instead of worrying about spoiling your game, I would rather put your game out there, because if 1 or 2 or 3 of your tweets goes really far, that's the only thing some people might see of your game. But they'll make them more likely to, read about it or buy it in future. So instead of keeping your content secret, I think it's important to share as much of it as possible, even if it means you spoil like mechanics or puzzle solutions or anything like that, because I just don't think it's possible for a game to be 100% ruined from social media.
And I think also like people forget. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people going to scroll through your entire history. I mean, we've had play tests where someone at the beginning of, let's say, the meetup will be like, oh, I saw that GIF, it was really cool. The same puzzle is in the play test and they just get stuck. So, so it's one of those things where I think people remember like, oh, there was a cool thing that happened here.
But they don't absorb what's happening in it because it's out of context.
And sometimes it's like the levels is not even dressed. It's like all placeholder art. So I think... yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. What a good note to end on.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Keep hustling. Send Kate lots of short emails.
Don't send me emails,
Lots
please.
of them. Her email is kate@bleep.com.
It's not.
You'll figure
it's
it
not
out.
That.
No?
That's why you don't go anywhere.
Kate Gray emoji Stugan.
No, we're going to sign off now.
Okay, signing off.
So,
where do I sign?
Where can people follow you on the Twitters and such?
You can follow me at Cukia Kimani.
I'll put it on screen.
And I'm at _Benjamming. Together, we are at Nyamakop. You want to spell that this time?
No. No.
No one told me last time. No one told me.
It's fine. I am at How Not to Draw. You can follow Stugan at Stugan_. And that's all from us. Bye!
Deuces.